Oh. 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 Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. We are in Kenopanishad, chapter third part, and here we are looking at the story which explains that the truth is beyond the known and the unknown. Vijnatam avijanatam. So we saw how in the Devasur Sangram, the gods became victorious, and after having become victorious, they came back and, cutting it short, they became very arrogant with their success and started boasting of their success. As a result, when the supreme reality, the Brahman, saw, because Brahman knows everything, we think that he is not knowing. Where is he? I can't see him, but he's in our heart. He's the closest to us. Similarly, for the gods also, he's the closest. The wave, just like the wave is looking everywhere for water, but water is the closest. Without water, wave cannot be anything. Same way, they were unaware of him, and out of deep compassion to help the devas. And who are devas? Those who are oriented towards the divine. Asuras are oriented towards the world of objects. In other words, world of possessions and relations. They are asuras. And those who are inclined towards the divine in and through all their activity, they are devas. Now you can decide where you fall, which category you fall. So that these devas, even though they are immortal, they have had the nectar of immortality, the Amrut Pan they have done, and yet they are behaving so arrogantly in order to help them. Why he wants to help? He wants to help everyone, not only gods. He is helping us by way of this Upanishad. He is helping us by giving us the five senses or five organs of action, keeping COVID away, giving the right experiences that we need in our life in order to evolve further. And what is that evolution? That evolution cannot be at the worldly level. It has to be spiritual. It has to be at psychological level. Physically, we are perfect. And therefore, with this view in mind that my children, gods are his children, he alone is functioning through them. Without him, they are nothing. They are nobody. So he appeared as a yaksh in front of them. And when they saw this fantastic, captivating apparition in front of them, immediately all the devatas, they started discussing, and they told, oh, Agni Devata, you are the foremost one, and your scope is very far and wide. Why don't you go and check out who is this yaksha, and Who is this? What is this apparition? Yaksha can, okay, I'll tell you that what when it tells. So Agni with all huff and puff goes. That's where we were. In verse number 6 we did, right? Sixth. So with all huff and puff, with full of bloated chest, with big arrogant self-confidence, he approaches the yaksha. He says, I'll go and come back now. Don't worry. You leave it to me. Have no fear when Agni is here. You have heard that statement. So not Agni, whoever. So he goes. And when he goes, Yaksha Maharaj, he says, oh, who are you who has come? Agni says, me? I am Agni. And my, what is that? My name, and I'm also known by Jata Veda. And he said it so arrogantly, no, what do you call, humility whatsoever. And Yaksha appeared only with one purpose. Who is Yaksha will tell you afterwards. Now just take it as that apparition or that fantastic apparition. So Agni says, oh, I can burn everything that comes in my way. My temperature, I can go far and wide. Every object in this universe, as far as you can see, is because I am. Because Agni is the first element where there is a form, you see. Space doesn't have a form, air doesn't have a form, fire has a form, water has a form, and earth also has a form, the Jada. So he says everything, and if I increase my temperature, I can blast everything. He says, oh, is that so? And Yaksha says, look, in front of you, I kept this blade of grass. Let me see if you can destroy this blade of grass. So here it says that Saha Jata Veda, we are on page 111, verse number 6 in the Bhashya. Saha Jata Veda Trunam Dagdhum Ashaktaha Vriditaha Hata Pratignaha Tat Eva Yakshad Eva Tushnim Devan Prati Nivavrute Nivruttaha Pratigatavan Na Etad Yakshma Ashakam Shaktavanaham Vignatum Visheshatah Yadetad Yakshamiti. So the commitment, Hata Pratignaha, the commitment with which Agni Devata had come to explore, it was a reconnaissance mission to find out who is this, like they have sent this Mars probe to find out where is Mars or what is beyond it. Similarly, our Agni has gone as a probe to find out. And with the commitment which he went, and when he goes there and he is not able to burn, he invokes with lot of inspiration. He increases the temperature and tries to burn that blade of grass, but not even he is able to affect it even an iota. And completely exhausted, unable to destroy the blade of grass, Trunam, the Yaksha had said, let me see if you can destroy this grass. You are talking about so much about yourself, that you are Agni, that you are Jata Veda, that the whole visible universe is because of you, and so on and so forth. And if you are not able to burn this blade of grass, this mithya abhiman that you are carrying around with you, mithya abhiman is the false arrogance that you have defeated the asuras. I'm saying here in Bhashya, it is not given there. So he says, this mithya abhiman that you are carrying, be ready to give that up if you are not able to burn the blade of grass. And Agni, when he is not able to burn, he doesn't ask any questions. He doesn't wait for some more guidance. Immediately, he turns around and head as if a defeated, sad, depressed, that, oh my God, all my power was nothing in front of that blade of grass. He was humbled. And with that, he comes back to the gathering of all the devatas, and they all ask, what happened to that yaksha? Did you find out who he is? He says, I was unable to ascertain who he is really. Remember these lines. I was unable to ascertain who he is really. Now, all the gods, so till here we did last week in a hurry towards the end, but I just covered it, this last paragraph. Etat yakshma ashakam shaktavanaham vijnatum visheshatah yad etad yakshamiti visheshatah. I was not able to ascertain who this yaksha is. Visheshatah, specifically, conclusively, I was unable to work out. And with that, he comes back. And then now the test of Vayu Devata. Continuing in the 7th verse, Athavayum abruvan vayave tad vijanihi. Athavayum abruvan vayave tad vijanihi. Kime tad yakshamiti. Kime tad yakshamiti. Tatheti. Tatheti. Athavayum abruvan vayave tad vijanihi. Kime tad yakshamiti tatheti. Thereafter, all those devatas spoke to Vayu Devata, and they said, "Oh, great, powerful Vayu, you go and find out who is this yaksha." And then he says, Kimetad yakshamiti, means who is this yaksha? And he says, Tatheti. Okay, very well. And he moves on because he wants to prove Indra has been given the lesson of humility. Vayu, because he was still, while Agni must have gone there, they must be still boasting about their success. See, so he is still full. He doesn't realize what is waiting for him. So with that arrogance, he goes in front of Yaksh, goes from there. Tad abhyadravat amabhyavadat kositi vayurva ahamasmiti abravin matarishva va ahamasmiti. Again, tad abhyadravat tam abhyavadat kositi vayurva ahamasmiti abravin matarishva va ahamasmiti. Vayu tad abhyadravat abhyam avadat kositi. Then as Vayu went closer to towards the yaksha, again he asked, the yaksha asked Vayu, who are you? And he said, Aham asmi, Vayurva aham asmiti. I am Vayu, I am the wind god. And Matarishva aham asmiti. And not only I am a god of wind, but I am the Matarishva. Matarishva is that which is that which is able to pick something from here and can throw it very far away. I'm not talking about a leaf. When the hurricanes come or the strong winds blow, just now somewhere it happened in Dandenong or where all the big, huge, long trees were uprooted from the ground. 10 people can't push that tree, not even a centimeter they can move. That wind was so strong that it could uproot it from the ground. That is the power. And that this Matarishwa is not only on earth. This Matarishwa is that the celestial wind which is covering the entire universe, entire space. And it can throw the planets from one to the other. It can push the galaxies, all that thing it can do. That is Matarishwa. That technically, that which can, with its sheer power, pick up something from one place and take it far away and throw it there or take it there, whatever. And in this way, tasmin swai kim viryam iti apidagam sarvam adadiya yadidam prithivyam iti. Again, tasmin swai kim viryam iti apidagam sarvam adadiya yadidam prithivyam iti. Then the yaksha, the devta, he asked, whom did he ask? He asked the Matarishwa. Matarishwa is the greater expression of that wind god. We know Vayu Devta only at the level of the earth, that there is breeze, but there is the cosmic breeze also. So he says, he asked that Matarishwa, what is your capacity? What is your capability? What is your power? Then Vayu said that Sarvam Adadiya Yadidam Prithivyamiti. This is arrogantly he said. What is that? Whatever is there on this earth, I can pick up anything on this earth and throw it anywhere and take it anywhere I want. That is my power. Then same question again, just like he asked our Agni Devta or Jataveda, same thing is going to do here. He says, Tasmai Trunam Nidadau Etad Adat Sweti Tad Upapreyaya Sarvajavena Tanna Shashaka Datum Satata Eva Nivavrute Naita Dashakam Viknyatum Yate Tad Yakshamiti. Again, Tasmai Trinam Nidadhau Etad Adat Sweti Tad Upapreyaya Sarvajavena Tanna Shashaka Datum Tata Eva Nivavrute Naita Dashakam Vignatum Yade Tad Yakshamiti. Then Yaksha kept that blade of grass, Trunam again, Tasmai Trunam Nidadau. He brought that blade of grass in front. Etad adat sweti tad upapreyaya sarvajavena tanna shashaka datum. So he kept that blade of grass in front of our Vayu Devta and said, you pick this up. See, what does wind do? It does two things. What are the two things that wind does? Three things I can say, I can remember. Anyone can tell? What can wind do? I told you one here. It can pick something and take it anywhere. What is the second?
It can move.
It is already moving. What else can it do? What else does wind do?
Like in the body, it is manifested as 10 Vayus, Swamiji.
No, that is wind dries everything. Understand? So one is that it lifts things as Matarishwa, it picks up things and takes it anywhere. Second is that it is your clothes will not dry in the sun if they'll take longer to dry if there is no breeze. But if there is no sun and there is breeze, they'll dry quicker. So the the wind, it can shrivel, it can dry up, that it's supposed to dry up that blade of grass, but it will not be able to. Huh? And and the third is that it is able to, as we said, it can take anything from somewhere to anywhere it wants. Similarly, it takes from somewhere, it will pick up the dry sand, and it will bring the loo in, like they had the dust storm in Sydney last year. It came from the central desert of Australia. Similarly, the wind, it carries the fragrance of the earth or the flowers from one place to the other, isn't it? That is what Matarishva, it carries one thing, something beautiful like fragrance, or something heavy like, trees, houses, buildings, it can carry. So here, he said, Yaksha Maharaj said that here, I kept the blade of grass, you grab it if you can. And the Vayu Devata came close, to the blade of grass, and he used all his speed and he used all his power in order to grab the blade of grass and carry it away. But he could not, and he was not successful in that endeavor. And then satat eva nivavrute, and then he withdrew from there. And again, the wind god, he did not even bow down. He did not even acknowledge that power is greater than it. You see, Agni Devata also made the same mistake. Our Vayu Devata is also making the same mistake, not acknowledging the greatness of the one who has kept that blade of grass in front of them. They were more, concerned about their ego rather than wanting to know, because their purpose of going was to find out who Yaksha is. Instead of finding out, they are feeling humiliated, humbled, and without exploring further possibilities, Vayu Devata also comes back, and here says, Satat eva nivavrute. Nivavrute returned, withdrew from there. Naita dashakam vijnatum, because he was not able to come to know who Yaksha was. Yadetad yakshamiti. And then when he was asked that who was this Yaksha, he said, I was not able to ascertain as to the nature or the specifically, again, specifically visheshaha, what was it? Visheshataha, I was unable to specifically find out, because he didn't even attempt it, you see. And we'll look at it from spiritual standpoint in the next chapter. So I'm not going to go too much into that. And then here the Bhashya says in the 10th, there is Bhashya in the 10th, and it says, Atha anantaram vayum abruvan he vayo etad vijanihi ityadi samanartham purvena. Then Yaksha asked the Vayu, hey Vayu, hey Vayu, find out this, what is this, that just like before, the blade of grass was given to him. And then he says, when it says here, samanartham purvena, purvena means as it was given before. So there, in Sanskrit, you try to reduce the use of language. You don't want to use too much language. Example, if someone has to say, I'll mix Hindi and English. सायं काल मैं घर गया. Okay, मैं घर गया. सायं काल मैं घर गया. Now, sayam means in the evening. Kala means time, isn't it? Now, I'm talking to you from Sanskrit point of view. When they say sayam kal, in Sanskrit, they will not use sayam kal. Why? Or I can add one more factor to it. Sayam kal, 6 o'clock. So they will not see, they will just say sayam kal. Sayam kale, in the evening. Now look at the Sanskrit. Is it necessary to call the time as time? Is evening not time itself? So Sanskrit will give up using the word kal also. It will just say sayam, मैं घर गया. It will not use the sayam kal also or time also. It will just say sayam. And this is how, with minimum efforts, with minimum usage of vocabulary, it is able to communicate the whatever is needed to be communicated. So here when he said Purvena, he doesn't want to repeat the whole story that he was arrogant and he gave him a blade of grass and he said, are you so strong? All that he didn't, like before. So, Vanad Gamanad Gandhanadvam Vayuhu. And who is Vayu? Why do you call Vayu as Vayu? Because Vanad Gamanad Gandhanadva Vayuhu. Meaning that which takes what you call, it grabs the, as I was telling you before, it grabs the fragrance from one place and takes it to the other. Without Vayu, that is not possible. And that's why it is called Vayu. Then Mataryantarishrikshe Shwayatiti Matarishwa. Why is it called Matarishwa? Matarishwa because it moves around freely in the antariksha. I added to it that it can move everything, the entire movement of various planets, galaxies, asteroids, etc. is possible because of the cosmic wind. So that is called Matarishwa. Idam sarvam api adadiya gruhniyam yadidam prithivyam ityadi samanam eva. Then he says, and whatever is there on this earth, the Vayu, it can grab that and take it anywhere it wants. So here in this Bhashya, the qualities and the power of the Vayu Devata was given. Then continuing. So now we have seen, again it says, Prithivyam ityadi samanam eva. See, again he is doing the same thing. And rest of the story is just like the before, what happened to Agni. And what happened to Agni? He came back, he was asked, who did you find out who Yaksha was? And Vayu Devata said, no, I was not able to find out. I was not able to conclusively ascertain who this Vayu Devata is. So that is the same thing as before. Now continuing. Now Agni Devata is taken care of, Vayu Devata is taken care of, and now Indra Devata. Now they all say, they appoint Indra to find out, because this is a formidable person who needs, and we need to find out, is he from our side or is he from Asuric side? All the devatas are always afraid of their position. Athendram अथ इंद्रम अब्रुवन् मघवन्नेतद्विजानीहि अथ इंद्रम अब्रुवन् मघवन्नेतद्विजानीहि किमेतद्यक्षमिति तथेति तब अभ्यद्रवत् तस्मात् तिरोदधे तद अभ्यद्रवत् तस्मात् तिरोदधे टुगेदर अथ इंद्रम अब्रुवन् मघवन्नेतद्विजानीहि किमेतद्यक्षमिति तथेति तद अभ्यद्रवत् तस्मात् तिरोदधे. Thereafter, atha also means now. Many Upanishads begin with now, other Upanishads begin with Om. So this Upanishad began with Atha or Om? Forgotten. Quickly check. Om apyayantu mamangani. So it began with Om, this one. So now or thereafter, all the gods spoke to Indram Abruvan. Abruvan spoke. Past tense. Abruvan. To whom? To Indra. Who is Indra? He is their Lord. Who are the Devatas? Devatas are various productive potentials, faculties. I have explained to you before. Right eye is the sun god. Left eye is the moon god. Next nostrils, Ashwini Kumar. Agni from your speech. Then Vishnu in your feet, Indra also in your hand, and Indra is also the lord of the mind. And in this manner, if you read the Lagunyas, in that all the gods, Lagunyas that is chanted before, excuse me, it is chanted before the Rudram. So in that, the purification of the body is done. In that, all the way, which god is in which part is given. If you want, it's not important here anyway. Or is it important? It's there in my mind, so might as well tell you. Where are we? Here it says, Prajanane Brahma Tishtatu, Padayor Vishnus Tishtatu. In the genital organs, Brahmaji is there. At the feet, Vishnu is there. Hastayor Haras Tishtatu. In the hands, the Hara, the Lord Hara. Bhavor Indras Tishtatu. The upper arm is the Indra. Then Jatare Agnis Tishtatu. In the fire in the belly, that Jatara Agni, that is where Agni is situated. Hridaye Shivas Tishtatu. Shiva, Lord Shiva is in the heart. Kanthe Vasavas Tishthantu. Vasudevata is in the Kantha. Ashta Vasudese. Then Vaktre Saraswati Tishtatu. At the tip of your tongue is the Saraswati. Nasikayor Vayus Tishtatu. In the nostril, we saw in the first chapter where it was the word pran was used. There Adi Shankaracharya said pran is ghran, means because of pranas you are able to smell also. So here the same way, Nasikayor, the devata, the potential, it is here that you are able to, the Vayu devata is situated here. Nayanayos Chandra Dityau Tishthetam. Nayanayau means the two eyes. This is the sun god Chandra Aditya. tishthetam are located or situated. Karnayor Ashwinau Tishthetam. In the ears, Ashwini Kumars are there. Then Lalate Rudras Tishthantu. In the Lalat, this is Lalat, this is where Rudra. Whenever we get angry, this is where you get the Atya, what do you call the wrinkles and the eye, the forehead becomes red. And that, from that you can make out a person is in tension or in anger or whatever. Murdhyaदित्यास्तिष्ठन्तु Sharasi Mahadevastishtatu Shikhayam Vamadevastishtatu Pishte Pinaki Tishtatu. So this way, on top of the head is the Mahadev, in the Choti is Vamadev, Prushte at the back, Pinaka. Pinak is what do you call? Pinak ko kya bolenge yaar? That is the Dhanush of Lord Shiva, Pinak. Then Purata Shuli Tishtatu. In the front is the Shuli. Shuli is another instrument of the Lord Shiva. And in this way, and then it says Sarvato Vayus Tishtatu. Sarvato. All this is possible and functioning because Vayu is there. Otherwise, without Vayu, it will not be possible. So that Vayu will be the Matarishva. So that was just some extra bit to. So the greatness of our scriptures is that don't look for gods out there in the universe. What is in the universe is a reflection of who you are. So that whole universe is the macrocosm, you are the microcosm. So if there is the sun out in the gross world, there must be a sun in the subtle world. And that sun is the right eye, because this eye is able to illuminate the physical sun outside. See? And then when we chant Gayatri Mantra, there it says, oh Lord Sun, oh Gayatri Mata, the intellect is taken as to make my intellect as bright as the sun. So then even go further back. So then senses become the effect and intellect becomes or mind becomes the cause. And more effulgent and more powerful than that is the Atma. Anyway, we are going away from the topic. That was just a little bit of a extra information. Where are we? So, and they say, Maghavan, please go and find out who this Yaksha is, all the Devatas told him. Then Indra said, Tatheti, very well, I'll go. Tad abhyadravat tasmat tirodadhe. And having said very well, he went towards the Yaksha. But the moment he approached the place where the Yaksha was there, immediately the Yaksha vanished. Tirodade, he withdrew, melted away, dissolved, whatever you may call it. Now the Bhashya says in the 11th one, Atha Indram abruvan maghavan netad vijanihi ityadi purvavata. Again, Devatas, another name for Indra Bhagwan is Maghavan. So Agni Devta was called Jataved, Vayu Devta was called Matarishwa, and Indra Dev is called as Maghavan. Bhagavan. Maghavan. Please go and find out. We have to come to know. Please go and find out. Then it says, Indra Parama Ishwaro Maghava Balatvat balavatvat tatheti tad abhyadravat. I'm just breaking up the Sanskrit there. So Indra Parameshwaro, Parama Ishwaraha. So for them, Indra is the Ishwara. Huh? And why is the Lord of all the Devatas? He must be having some quality because of which he has become the Lord of all gods. Again, remember, what are the gods? You got the 5 sense organs of action: speech, hands, legs, genitals, anus. These are the 5 organs of action which we interact with the world. Behind each one of them is a Lord sitting. Just as I said, behind the feet was Lord Vishnu, behind the hands is the Hara, upper arm is the Indra, speech is the Agni Devata. Then we have Jnanendriyas, the seeing, hearing, touching, feeling, tasting. Behind each one of them, I already showed you, there is a productive potential because of which these senses are able to function in their respective fields. If that functioning ability, what is that functioning ability? If we take that ability away, that potential of seeing away from the eyes, then eyes will not be able to see. You will have the eyes, but you cannot see. So all these gods, they are not called Indra. Who is Indra? He is the Lord of the mind. He is their boss. So mind is more powerful than the 5 senses and the 5 organs of action plus the 5 breaths. Prana, Pan, Vyanu, Dan, Saman. Understand? So, Indraha Parameshwaro Maghava Balavatvat Tatheti Tad Abhyadravat. So, Indra, in other words, Parameshwara. And why is they call him Maghava Parameshwara? Because because he's more powerful than any one of them. Maghava. He's more powerful than any one of them. Balavatvat. He can invoke the power of Agni Devata, Vayu Devata, Ashwini Kumar, anyone, and he has his own power. Therefore, he is the Lord of all the Devatas. And Tasmat Indrad Atma Samipam Gatat Tat Brahma Tirodadhe Tirobhutam. And then he said, Tasmat Indrad Atma Samipam. And having said very well, he went towards the Tad Abhyadravat. He went towards the Yaksha. Tasmat Indrad Atma Samipam Gatat Tad Brahma Tirodade Tirobhutam. And when Yaksha, he saw that Indra is coming close, Atma Samipam is coming close to him, Yaksha is saying that he's coming close to me. Now he's almost about to look at me. That very moment, Tad Brahma Tirodade Tirobhutam. That very moment, he vanished from there. He withdrew from there. Then Indrasya Indratva Abhimano Atitaram Nirakartavya Ityataha Sambadam Atramapi Nadad Brahmendraya. Then he says, he thought, who? Yaksha Maharaj. Why did he move away? Why did he vanish from there? Why did he not present himself? Why did he not remain there to test him? Like he tested the Agni Devata and the Vayu Devata. He could have done that also, but he didn't. Now, the secret of it will come in the next chapter. I don't want to spoil the surprise. And when this is done, and he withdrew because he saw Indra also had come with arrogance of success over the asuras. And sometimes when our colleagues are not able to do, "Arey, ye to kuch nahi hai, main karke dikhata hu." That type of attitude, that is arrogance. And when he saw the failure of Agni Devta and Vayu Devta, Indra said, "Acha, I will go and check it out. Even though you are telling me," they all requested him. He also went with a bit of arrogance, and Yaksha Maharaj, wanting to break his arrogance and show him his place, not because Yaksha wants to feel greater over him. Yaksha is the Brahman who is appearing as that Yaksha, out of compassion, not out of arrogance. Where are we? And therefore, when it says the Indrasya Indratva Abhimano Atitaram Nirakartavya Ityataha Samvada Matram Api, he did not give Indra even a chance to have a conversation with him. At least the Agni Devta and Vayu Devta, they had the chance to converse. They were not able to ascertain who this Yaksha is, but at least they had communication with him. But when Indra went to communicate, to find out, the Yaksha did not even give Indra the chance to communicate with him. Heartless. No, it's a blessing. See then what happens. And in this manner, now Indra has gone with a commitment, pratignya, iha pratignya. What is that? He has gone with a commitment to find out how will it be if he goes back without finding an answer. He's the Lord of the mind. He's the Lord of the mind. So he has also gone with but now his problem is, I'm imagining here, his problem is that he goes there and now there's no one to talk to. Now whom is going to ask? Where is the Yaksha? Who's the Yaksha? Where is that blade of grass which everyone was talking about? Nothing. And when there is nothing to speak, there is nothing to know, there is nothing to, what is there then? There is blankness, there is emptiness, there is empty space, because there's nobody there. When there is nothing there or nobody there, what is there? There is nothing, zero. So what does he do? That is told here in the 12th verse. He says, sa tasmin eva kashe striya ma jagama, sa tasmin eva kashe striya ma jagama bahushobhamanam umam haimavatim tagangho vacha kimetad yakshamiti. Together, satasmin eva kashe striyama jagama bahushobhamanam umam haimavatim tagangho vacha kimetad yakshamiti. You can make out the meaning? That means you are with it. it's simple. So that Indra saha tasmin eva kashe. Huh? Just till here, eva kashe. What is that? In that empty space where before the Yaksha was, now he is not there. And Indra could not see him, he could not talk to him, he could not converse with him, he could not. And Indra, Agni Devata and Vayu Devata said, hey, there was someone there. And he gave us the blade of grass. And Indra goes, there is nobody there. Or he vanishes in front of him. And what is that space? That space where the Yaksha became Antardhan, meaning he vanished. He removed himself from that space. Striyam ajagama. One Striya is the woman. A woman came there. And what was the quality? How was this woman? Bahu Shobha Manam. Very beautiful. Very attractive, very beautiful, fully decked. She came. And who is she? Uma. Who is Uma? And Haimavatim. So Uma, who is Uma? Uma is Shiva's wife, Lord Shiva's wife, isn't it? And who is Hemavati? Hemavati is the daughter of Himavan. Himavan is the Lord of the Himalayas. And he saw this beautiful lady in that empty space because he kept staring where Yaksha was. And we'll tell afterwards in the next chapter what was his quality of searching for that Yaksha, which brought about the blessings of Uma. Uma is Avyakta. Uma is Brahma Vidya. Uma is the consort of Lord Shiva. Shiva is none other than Brahman, if you take it that way. So that Uma came and he approached Uma, Tagang ho vacha, he uvacha. And to that beautiful, fully decked with ornaments, to that beautiful lady, he asked, Kimetad yakshamiti? Kimetad? Kim etad yaksham iti? Who is this Yaksha who withdrew himself the moment I came? So here it says that, that Parvati is the Brahma Vidya. I already told you. So, who is this Yaksha? Tad yaksham yasmin akashe akasha pradeshe atmanam darshayitva tirobhutam indraha cha brahmanas tirodhana kale yasmin akashe asit. That Yaksha, wherever he was appearing in front of Agni Devata and Vayu Devata, that space, Akash is space. Avakashat Akash. That which gives accommodation is called space, is called Akash. In that space, Akasha Pradeshe, Pradeshe means that space, Atmanam Darshayitva. Atmanam means that Yaksha, where that he was appearing in that space and giving darshan to the previous gods, that place, Darshita, Tirobhut Indrashcha, but vanished, vanished when Indra came close to him. There, Brahmanas Tirodhana Kale, Yasmin Akashe Asit, Saha Indraha Tasmin Eva Akashe Tasthau Kim Tad Yakshamiti Dhyayan Na Nivavrute Agni Adivata. Now here it says that that space where Yaksha had withdrawn himself, what did Saha Indraha Tasmin Eva Akashe Tasthau? Tasthau means he stayed there. Who? Indra. He did not, and we'll just take the bottom part. Na Nivavrute Agni Adivat, the last line. Na Nivavrute means he did not withdraw like Agni Devta withdrew or Adi Vayu Devta withdrew. He did not withdraw from there because, hey, there is nothing there, so let's go back. Didn't give up. That is the important part. He didn't give up. Then what did he do? Then Saha Indra Tasmin Eva Akashe Tasthau. He stationed himself there in that space where Yaksha had withdrawn himself, had withdrawn himself. Kept looking at that. And then Kim Tad Yakshamiti Dhyayan, and kept contemplating who could be this Yaksha, where, what is his nature? He showed himself to Agni and Vayu. Why did he not show himself to me? Where is he? What is he? Who is he? What are his qualities? And in this way, he started contemplating. No answer can come because he has got nothing to compare with. He has got no answer to compare with. All he can do is question, contemplate. It's a contemplative question. Who is that Yaksha? Where is that Yaksha? What is this Yaksha? Why he vanished when I came and he showed himself and conversed with the other two? So in this manner, he started contemplating. Who? Indra. But can any answer come? Answer will come if our problem, yours and mine, and what is that? When we put a question, we ask the question with an expectation of an answer. And where there is expectation, mind will pop up some answer. Mind will pop up some answer based on the data that it has. But the quality of Indra's approach, that means our mind's approach. He is asking this question without any expectation. He is asking this question without any frustration. He is asking this question. It is an open-ended question. I don't know what is going to come, but I must ask these questions. Very. So when we think of Aham Satchidananda Swarupoham, Chidananda Rupaha, Shivoham, Shivoham. Acha, Chidananda Rupa, Chid Ananda. I am of the nature of consciousness, bliss, and that Shiva I am. Which I am? This body I am. There comes. Immediately the mind gives an answer. Acha, no, I am Chidananda Rupa. Or you have an expectation that, yeah, I am, I am Chidananda Rupa. We want to experience everything. But Indra went with an open mind. The moment Yaksha withdrew himself, and why did he withdraw himself? because he wanted to break the arrogance of Indra. There was no other purpose. And that's the way that the Supreme Reality blesses us also, brings instances in our life where we are rubbed right, left, and center, so that our ego gets crushed. But instead of learning the lesson, we increase our ego and become more miserable. But if we have an integrated mind like Indra's, then we will also do this. And he continued contemplation on that yaksha there in that empty space, eyes open, fully alert, did not go to sleep. All this is all side effects I'm putting, Then tasya indrasya yakshe bhaktim buddhva vidya uma rupini pradurbhut stri rupa. And at that time, when Indra, with that special quality, because he is the Lord of the mind, he contemplated on who is this yaksha, where is this yaksha, what is the nature of this yaksha, why he did not show himself to me, and with sincerity and focused contemplation, without getting distracted by anything. He was contemplating, and at that time, seeing this quality of Indra, seeing this disposition of Indra, seeing this focused approach of Indra, so seeing the humility of Indra, because he had come with arrogance, but now it is gone. As a result, Buddhva Vidya, Uma Rupini Pradurbhut Stri Rupa, there appeared Buddhi Rupi, Buddhva Rupa Vidya, or Brahma Vidya. Another word for her is Brahma Vidya, Buddha Vidya, Brahma Vidya. Another name for is she came in the form of Brahma Vidya. You understand Brahma Vidya, knowledge of Brahma, isn't it? But what form did she take? She took the form of Uma. She took the form of that, the consort of the Lord. Pradurbhut Stri Rupa. She appeared in the form of a woman. See? Now this is each line is so deeply suggestive, which we'll look at it in our next chapter. Then what happened? Saha Indraha tam umam bahushobhamanam sarvesham hi shobhamananam shobhanatama vidya. That Indra, Saha Indraha tam uma bahushobhamanam, shobhamanam. When he looked at that most beautiful Uma, another Uma, Parvati, Hemavati, whatever name, all the three names they have used, their Parvati they have not used, Brahma Vidya they have used. He approached her, he went close to her. Sarveshami Shobhamananam. So who is this? Here they use the word what? Bahu Shobhamanam Umam. In the verse, the word was Bahu Shobhamanam Umam. Now that Bahu Shobhamanam Umam is being explained by Adi Shankaracharya here. If you have noticed, every word of the verse is explained in the Bhashya by Adi Shankaracharya with what angle of approach we should understand it. Otherwise, we'll come to our own conclusions, which will lead us to wrong conclusions. फिर भटकते रहो भूत की तरह. because we are not prepared. So he's catching our finger and taking us. And who is this Bahu Shobhamanam? Sarvesham hi Shobhamanam Shobhanatama Vidya. Vidya Parvati, Vidya Brahma Vidya, Vidya Atma Vidya. And she is most beautiful. Tada Bahu Shobhamaneti Visheshanam Upapannam Bhavati. And therefore, so here it says, Shobhanatama Vidya. Vidya alone is the most beautiful. Don't look at it as Stri here. Yes, you can look at it as Uma, you can give it a form, etc., etc. But technically what it is, Stri, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Who is Uma? She's the consort of whom? Paramashiva. See? Where is Indra standing, looking? Where is Indra standing and looking? At the empty space. How does the Shakti express itself? Manifestation and unmanifestation. What is Indra looking at? Unmanifestation, emptiness. In that emptiness, Uma appears as Vidya, as Brahma Vidya. How do you come to know the Brahma Vidya? As Atma Vidya, self-knowledge. And it is the most beautiful. It's ecstatic, it is auspicious, it is blissful. And therefore the word, the adjective Bahu Shobhamana has been given to Uma. Haimavatim Hema Kruta Bharanavatim Iva Bahu Shobhamanam Ityarthaha. Haimavati, in other words, Hema means golden. Hema also means white, but also golden. No, Hema means white. And she's full of alankar, full of ornaments. Hema Kruta Bharana, Abharana. Abharana means all the ornaments that are. Abharanani samarpayami. When you are doing puja, after vastra, upavita, gandha, harda, kumkumam, then you give abharanani. You put all the ornaments on the Lord before you put akshata and pushpa. So abharanani is, so here the word here kruta abharana, abharana atim iva. Bahu Shobhamanam iti arthaha. So Haimavati, why she was called Haimavati? Because she was fully decked with ornaments. Then another word of Haimavati, Athva Uma iva Himavataha Duhita Haimavati Nityam eva Sarvagnena Ishwarena Sahavartata iti Nyatum Samartheti Kritvatam. Another or Athva or Uma iva Himavato. Because she is the Uma iva Himavato Duhita. Because she is the daughter of Himavan. So she is called as Himavati. Then Duhita Haimavati. Okay, she's called as Haimavati. Nityam eva sarvagneneshwarena Ishwarena Sahavartata. And And who is this Haimavati? Who is this daughter of Himavan, Uma, Haimavati? She is the one who is always residing, living together with that Ishvara. Nityam eva sarvajnena, the all-knowing Ishvarena. All-knowing Ishvara, saha. Saha means along. Vartata iti, is always with him, always staying with him. She is never separated from him. So, iti, saha vartate iti, jnatum samartheti kritvatam. So, and all this Indra has come to know intuitively from inside. So she is appearing outside, but the knowledge is taking place in his heart. This is called Pradurbhav. Words are coming from outside, but understanding is taking place inside. So what is happening inside? If you are understanding, I can only say that. To whom? Not to you, to my mind. If the mind is objective in approach, then it will be limited understanding. If it is subjective approach to the words, then it will be true understanding. So Indra Bhagwan, Indra, the king of gods, he is standing in that empty space, thinking, who is this Yaksha? What is this Yaksha? Where is this Yaksha? Why did he not have a conversation with me? Not expect him, fully surrendered, available, sincere, curious, in silence, not distracted by anything else except with one single pointed purpose, to know who the Yaksha is. The result is Uma Devi, Haimavati, Parvati, she appears as a beautiful woman. And who she is, she has not announced anything. But Indra comes to know intuitively within his heart. And thinking that she must be this Uma, she must be the consort of the Ishvara, who is all-knowing principle. Indra, Nyatum samartheti kritvatam. Maybe she is, because she is his consort, then she must be knowing who this Yaksha is. And therefore, Upachagama Indrastam ha umam kila uvacha papracha. Thinking in this manner, Indra approached her, and papracha, he posed a question to her. He asked her. What did he ask? Bruhi kimetad darshayitva tiro bhutam yakshamiti. Please tell me why, after giving his vision, he withdrew himself, this Yaksha. Why did he not present himself in front of me? Who is this Yaksha? Why did he not present in front of me? I added, it is not given there. Huh? And with this, the third chapter is over. And because Indra has the ability to focus, he did not withdraw. Because Indra is more committed. Pratignya, remember the word pratignya that was used? Agni also went with pratignya, commitment. Vayu also went with commitment. Indra also went with commitment. But Agni went, he didn't see anything, he came back. Vayu went, he could not affect the blade of grass, he came back. Indra did not come back. What is that? Mano buddhi hankara chitta ninaham na cha shrotra jivhe na cha ghrana netre na cha vyoma bhumir na tejo na vayuhu chidananda rupah shivoham shivoham chidananda rupah Shivoham, Shivoham. Where is Ahankar? Ahankar is that arrogance, isn't it? Mano, Buddhya, Ahankara, Chitta, Ninaham. All these put together is mind only. Mana, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara is equal to mind, the Antahkaran. Na Tejo, na Vayu, na Shrotra, na Jivha means neither I am the pranas, neither the vayus. So all these, what are these? Vayu is the breath, teja is the eyes. So all the faculties, they were incapable of knowing the Chidananda Rupa. Isn't it? So they withdrew. No staying power. No staying power. No staying power. But Indra, he has the staying power. So he stayed, he continued. But that staying power has to be developed. Indra was not Indra before, he became Indra because of his commitment, because of his power. There's this story of Virochan, I think, Virochan and Indra. Virochan came back. What is this truth, 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 Brahman, Brahman, Brahman? Oh, this body is Brahman, and he comes back after 10,000 years of meditation. And Indra also came to the same question, but the teacher said, no, explore more. Again, another 10,000 years. Then he came to know that he is prana. Again, another 10,000 years. Then he came to know his mind. Again, 10,000 years. Then he came to know his the intellect. Again, 10,000 years. Then Brahmaji gave him darshan. Then he got the position of Indra. It's not just like that. Single pointedness doesn't come. Our slavery to the objects of the world, slavery to the senses, that has to be dissolved. Our problem, is that when we are doing sadhana, or when we are listening, or when we are doing japa, or when we are working in the world, or when we are doing puja, or we are doing dana, dharma, yajna, whatever good deeds we are doing, when we are speaking, when we are doing sadhana, yoga, etc., we do all this because we want to get to the Lord. That is a stupid approach. Because these faculties can never take you there. None of these practices can take you there. Because where are these practices? Where are these practices? Firstly, they are specific. Secondly, they are at the periphery. Thirdly, they are object-oriented. How can they take you to the Ishvara? How can doing something in the finite world take you to the infinite? How can taking the name of the Lord take you, which is finite, take you to the infinite? I don't know if you have ever questioned that. This question has even appeared in your mind. I'm just putting it out so that you get another angle of approach to it. Then what should be done? This is all we know. We are trying to use dravya, use yajna, use dana, use tapa, use puja, use japa, in order to come to know the Ishvara. But what does Bhagavan say in Gita? That I alone am expressing in your heart. I am the life in you. So you are already of the nature of Ishvara. Catch this. It's not a lame statement. It is not a statement made to not give answers. That is the truth. No object can take you to the self, the Lord in your heart, and you cannot remove the Lord from your heart. Meaning, you cannot remove the Atma from yourself, because you are the Atma. Who is imagining he is the body, he is the mana buddhi chitta ahankar, he is the senses, he is the doer, he is the enjoyer, he is the born, he is the one who is going to die, he is the father, mother. This is all imagination. And you want to do some activity in that imagination, and then come to know who you are. You are already who you are. So why don't you do whatever has to be done? Yoga has to be done. Do it from the Ishvara's. Take the position of the Atma and do the yoga. Take the position of Atma and do the puja. Take the position of Atma and do the japa. See how quickly the dissolution of the mind will come. Dissolution of the mind, dissolution of the desires, vasanas, they will just melt away. But instead, we keep falling into the trap of becoming the doer. I have to do something in order to come to know the Ishvara. No, you are of the nature of Satchidanand Swarup. You are the Atma. And all this mind is an expression of, mind is not the, Atma is not expressing as the mind, but let's say it that way. That everything that is happening in the Atma. It cannot be outside it. Take that position, see the unfoldment, how quickly it will happen. Achirat. Instantaneously. Instantaneously. But our approach is wrong. Our approach is objective. Our approach is of being I have to put efforts in order to know. No. Why? If you have to put efforts, when you want something in return of efforts, it will lead to frustration if you don't get it. Then what to do? Take the position of Atma, take the position of the self. And what is the self? Satchidanand Swarup. Then let the speech be out of an expression of that bliss. Let the actions that happen be the expression of that bliss. Let all activities, remember in Jnaneshwari we are reading that all activities are at the five causes level. It is not at the Atmic level. Atma is not doing any activity. So if you take the position of Atma, then all your activity, whatever, gross or subtle or causal, let them be an expression of that bliss rather than do the activity and then come to know the bliss. It is like, what is this situation like? This situation is like, unless I don't learn swimming, I will not get into water. Hare Buddhu, unless you don't get into water, you will not learn swimming. See? How is that possible? So we, because of our obsession with the objective world, people say, oh, my heart is so corrupted, my heart is so manipulative, my heart is so impure, and I must purify my heart, and then I think I'll be qualified to take the name of the Lord, and I'll be able to do the puja, or I will be able to remember the form of the Lord, papoham, papa. Same. What is the same? You are trying to learn swimming outside the water. You want your heart to be purified so that you can take the name of the Lord. And what is the answer? By taking the name of the Lord, the heart will be purified. This is the other angle. But for that, you have to be available, no? So let every action, so two ways, I'm not taking this side or that side. On one hand, karma must be done, all activity must be done. It must not must be done, it must be pursued only for purification. Only for purification. And higher will be from that purified mind, where bliss is natural, because you have, in a purified mind, the self is reflecting abundantly, because there is no corruption. Does that mean that activity will stop? No, body will continue. We see it in Mahatmas, no? So how is their activity? From the self point of view, from the self, every activity is an act of elegance. Every word is a beautiful speech. Every movement of theirs is divine. That's why we get attracted to realized masters. That's why we feel blessed in their presence. This is the approach of Indra. Indra meaning the mind. Much more detail when we get into the next chapter. So these are all stages in your meditation. How objective approach has to be dropped and subjective approach has to be initiated. But when you become subjective, first that you come across is blankness. Indra is the lord of the mind. When mind tries to find its source, the yaksha. Yaksha is the doubt. Is there something there? Yeah, there is something, but what is that? I don't know. But others said there is something. And why Indra is not able to see? Because he's so focused. He's not gross oriented. So just as when your eyes, physical eyes, try to look at themselves, all forms vanish. Right? Try. So many times we have told you this exercise. Same way, when the mind tries to look at its own source, when the mind approaches the I, who am I? क्या हो गया भैया, फोन क्यों चला गया? हाँ? When mind, where is the inquiry? In the mind. And mind is looking for the self. Who am I? One of the barriers is the blankness. If you take it as a barrier, take it as a blessing. Indra took it as a blessing. He did not give it any connotation, it is blessing or no. He just kept, his focus was clear. I want to know who this Yaksha was. And what was the result? The mother came, and we will see what she says in the next chapter. And then in 2 verses, she will explain tell him, and then the Shruti Mata takes on from the 3rd verse and gives a detailed explanation of what the Uma said. Leave it here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Sit quietly for a few minutes. Hari Om.